It has been a year since I started this vlog. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's a wonderful rainy July Monday, so it's not the best day ever, but I wanted to start a new reading vlog. And this reading vlog, as you will probably see in the title, is going to be centered around the book covers, because I have been looking at my TBR shelf and I realized that these three covers have a very similar color scheme with the pink and the green. So yeah, in this vlog I will try to read these three books and see whether the kind of color scheme in the design of the book actually means that they're similar or not, or whether this was just kind of a trend and you know, people like to do that, that they kind of base book covers of other books that have been doing well. And I'm not quite sure. I think the first one that was published is actually this one from this small pile here. So this is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, and this is a book that focuses on the marsh girl, and it is a little bit of a mystery because someone is killed, but I've also heard a lot of people say that this is quite a sad book and deals with loneliness. So that will be book number one. Then the next one is The Vanishing Half by Bennett, and this book actually deals with two sisters, and these two sisters are white passing, and I think one decides to live as a white woman passing, and the other one I think marries a man that has very dark skin, and then it follows their children, I think. So yeah, this is a book that has been going around a lot and would definitely be one of those books that has been so successful that it would make sense to kind of base your cover on it to make it sell good. And then the last one actually came out this year, and I really like this cover. It has another one as well, but I don't really like that one. It's How Beautiful We Were by Mbue, and this is actually the book that I'm most excited to read because this deals with a small village in Africa, and they're kind of fighting an American oil company, and so I think this will be a lot about like community and this village against this kind of Goliath thing. So yeah, I'm very excited to read all three of these books. And last night I actually started Where the Crawdads Sing. I'm not that far in, about 50 pages so far, and I was actually surprised because I thought that the beginning of the book would grip me a lot more, but so far I haven't really found a connection with the book, so that's very interesting. This is a book that has been like super hyped, and then it wasn't mentioned for a while, but now I've seen a couple of people that, you know, I trust give this 5 stars again. So yeah, I'm very intrigued to see whether I just have a little bit of trouble getting into this, but then I will love it in the end, or whether maybe this is an unpopular opinion book for me. We'll see. But yeah, this is the one I have started so far, so I will keep you updated on that one, and then we'll go into the other two later. So I've read the first 100 pages in Where the Crawdads Sing, And unfortunately, this book is not grabbing me. Like, so many people have been raving about it and given it 5 stars. So I really expected to love it from the first page, and it's just not happening. And it's really sad. I think part of it is that I didn't think that we would follow the main character. I don't know how to say her name. I would say it Kaya, but I don't know. I didn't think we would follow her for such a long time when she's just a small child. And I really liked the part where she had a better relationship with her father, but that wasn't a very long part, to be honest. So, yeah, and I think this book just deals with loneliness a lot so far. And since we're in the middle of a pandemic and I don't really see a lot of people in my life, maybe reading about a lonely character isn't the best thing right now. But yeah, I really thought I would like it more. We'll see what the rest of the book brings. I still have almost 300 pages to go. So I'm now 250 pages into Where the Crawdads Sing. I am getting into this story a lot more. I feel like the beginning was really, really slow, and I always like the moments when the main character has, contact to someone, but yeah, the beginning just was a bit slow for me. But now we're really getting into the kind of things that are going on. I don't want to spoil it, even though I don't feel like a lot of the things that are happening are spoilers. I think a lot of it is quite obvious that it's gonna happen at some point. But it's basically just the story of this girl who grew up very, very lonely and now sometimes tries to have meaningful relationships with people. And I think that if you're reading this for the whole mystery part, I think you will probably be disappointed. At least so far, I'm quite disappointed with it. I feel like yeah, it's just the tiniest amount of this book is really the mystery of that dead man and who killed him, and it's more about the life of this girl slash woman. And I think I was just expecting something different. I think it is beautifully written. I do really like the writing style. It's very, very easy to keep reading when I'm reading it, but I think this was just a bit too hyped. I think if there wasn't this hype around it, I would enjoy it more. But now I feel like I wanted something absolutely amazing, and I'm just getting like a good solid book. So I feel disappointed with it. But yeah, I am enjoying this a lot more, and I'll probably update you when I finished it or when something spectacular happens. So I just finished Where the Crawdads Sing. I decided to give it 3.5 stars. Unfortunately, this book was a disappointment for me. I think the hype is way too big for this book, and so it was definitely disappointing to me. I still think that it is an interesting book that you can definitely read if, this sounds interesting to you. I think what I expected was just very different from what I got with this book. I think I knew that this wasn't just a mystery because obviously when I first heard about this book, I thought it was a straight up mystery, that there is this murder of a guy called Chase, and that everyone expects the Marsh girl to be the one who did it. And that's just not what this book is about, honestly. Like, you have this girl that you basically follow for pretty much all of her life. You learn her life story. She grows up in a lot of loneliness. A lot of people abandon her. And then you get kind of a romance with this as well. So she does have a meaningful connection with someone, and then it has this kind of romantic tendency. But I think the only thing that this book really does well is the nature of writing, and all of the other things I wasn't such a big fan of. I think the writing style is gorgeous, and I really like the atmosphere of the swamp. Even though for some reason I didn't think that this would take place in, I think, in the Carolinas or something like that. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, for some reason, I didn't know that. What I also liked is that the dialogue is written in a dialect, which I think is always interesting. But as someone who is not from the US, I still couldn't really picture it most of the time. Like sometimes I would try really hard to imagine what that actually sounds like. But I thought it was interesting that it was done at all. Also, this story is set in the late 60s and 70s mostly, and that is quite a depressing time. There's still a lot of prejudice against black people in here, and scenes that are hard to read because of the racism in it. I think that you can't really write a book about the 60s and 70s in the southern US without mentioning racism, and it's very clear that the main character is not racist. In fact, she has a very good relationship with a black couple who kind of take care of her after all of her family left. But on the other hand, a lot of the racism isn't challenged that much because, yeah, it's not the point of the book, I guess. But yeah, I thought the like mystery aspect of the book was like super underwhelming, and I did not like the ending. I don't think it makes sense. And I've seen other reviews on Goodreads where people say that it doesn't really make sense. So it is predictable on the one hand, but then it doesn't make sense on the other hand, which is a super weird combination. But yeah, I don't know. As I said, I really liked the writing style, but I think the plot and the character development really wasn't that great. Yeah, it was just disappointing. It was just really disappointing. I feel like all the other people read a different book. So yeah, I guess that's that for this first book. So I have started The Vanishing Half as my next read, and I have only so far read the first chapter, but I'm really enjoying it. I think that the setup of the story is very intriguing, and I like how the different timelines are interwoven in the chapter, and you don't like jump back and forth with certain chapters. I think that will work out for the story quite well. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see how this book continues on. As I said, I just barely started it, and I will keep you updated in between. I think this book has like 6 parts or something like that, so I don't think I will update you after every single part, because that would be quite a lot. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I'm intrigued to read more. So I just finished part 2 in The Vanishing Half, and I'm really enjoying this book. Now, in the first part of the book, we follow mainly the sister, I think, Desiree. I never know how to say these names in English, I'm sorry. But she is one of the twins, and we follow her in 1969, I think, when she returns to her hometown that she left as a teenager. And she is of very light skin, but she has a very dark-skinned daughter, and she had to flee from a husband who was very abusive. So in the first part, we follow her and we get all these flashbacks back to her childhood and her relationship with her twin sister, and also to her marriage and what happened there. And yeah, we just follow that kind of plot line. And then in the second part, we jump 10 years into the future, and we follow her daughter, Jude. Her name is Jude. Sorry, just completely blanked. I just read that part of the book, whatever. So in the second part, we follow Jude as she's old enough to go to college. And so she's leaving that hometown again. She's never been happy there. She's never been accepted because of her dark skin, because everyone in this town always just tries to get children that are even lighter than themselves, which you can imagine sounds like a very, very toxic place, especially when you're a dark-skinned little girl. And then we follow Jude's life in California, where she's studying and she's meeting a man that is actually a trans man, which I think is very interesting, because I didn't know that there was trans representation in this book. And I think I just always really enjoy it when we have these more historical settings, but we have queer and trans characters, because obviously they've always been there. They just never had the opportunity to be visible because it just wasn't safe. So in Jude's storyline, we see a lot also of this man's story, basically, and how they are friends at first and then it turns into something more, and kind of the struggle that also comes along with that. And also they belong to a friend group with drag queens, which is also quite a fun addition. And I really like the kind of found family aspect of those relationships that Jude has. So yeah, so far I'm really, really loving the book. I think it is written so well. I really like the characters. And I think one thing that is similar to the other book that I just read, where the Crawdads sing, is that the dialogue is actually written in an accent or a dialect. I just never know which one is which. But actually I feel like this one is done a little bit better, because with the where the Crawdads sing, sometimes when I read the dialogue in my head, the people sounded Scottish, because English is not my first language, so it's just not that easy for me. I feel like with the way it is written in here, it definitely sounds more like a kind of southern black community kind of way of talking, I don't know. So I'm really enjoying that one as well. And yeah, I'll catch up with you after I read the next two parts, which will probably take me a while because tomorrow I'm starting a buddy read of a different book. But yeah, I'm really liking this. I am having a great time. So last night I finished part 3 and 4 in The Vanishing Half, and I absolutely love this book so much. So in part 3 we follow Stella, and I think it's like the same timeline as the first part, so they're kind of parallel. And then in the fourth part we don't really follow one of the characters anymore. It's more of a mixture, and we see how it progresses. But I think in the fourth part also the main focus is on Jude and kind of what happened with Stella. I'm not gonna spoil it, but yeah, I am loving this book so much. I think it does such a good job at portraying these characters in all of their complexity and just showing their flaws, because none of these characters is perfect. But you could say that some are trying a little harder than others. And yeah, I just really like the dynamic of seeing the choices of the mothers and how that affects how the daughters turned out. I think that's very interesting. And yeah, I have 2 parts left now. I think that's around 80 pages. So I think I will finish this tonight. I will really try because I'm so hooked. I just want to see how it all ends and see how this whole conflict kind of resolves. I think that the topic of this book is just so interesting, and the discussions about it, and seeing how that one choice made Stella such a vulnerable and lonely character, and especially the scenes with, I think Loretta is her name. That was just, yeah, it was just very, very interesting the way she projected things on that woman. And I just think, Stella really reminds me of that kind of wild animal. She's like always in danger, and so she's really easy to snap and then regret things. And yeah, it's just a very, very interesting concept, an interesting discussion. And I love this. I love everything about this. There's really not one a little bit that I don't like. So yeah, I think it's gonna be 5-star. Let's hope for it. So a storm is coming. The lighting is a bit weird right now. I'm sorry. But I just finished The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett, and this book was so good. I really loved it. I think everything about this book is great. I loved the writing style. I especially loved the characters. And this book is only like 340 pages, even though the pages are quite tall and there's a lot of words on them. But I felt like for being such a short book, you really understand these characters so well. And yeah, the ending actually made me tear up a little bit. It is not a happy ending, but also not a like super tragic ending. It just felt so real, I guess, and I just loved it. This book is perfection, and it actually makes me interested in the other books that Brit Bennett has written, even though they haven't intrigued me yet. I don't know whether it's just the mothers or whether there's another book, but especially with the mothers, I just haven't been interested because I don't like reading about like pregnancies and mothers and stuff. But the way this deals with the mothers and daughters is just so fantastic, and it is a little bit of a touchy subject for me because I didn't always have the best relationship with my mom. So yeah, I just felt like it was handled so well, and you obviously have kind of a lot of like mother-daughter relationships because you have the like mother of the twins, Adele. And then obviously the twins again are mothers of daughters. And it's just so complex. And also obviously the relationship of the twin sisters and how their life developed being apart from each other. There were some really, yeah, just like touching scenes. And honestly, Stella is just the character you want to punch all the time and just shake her and be like, get over yourself. But this is also set in, you know, the, I don't know, like 60s to 80s, I think. So it makes sense that, you know, something that maybe you could do today and be like, oh, well, I've never told you, but I'm actually not white. That would probably work with some people today, but it definitely would have not worked in the 80s. So you kind of see the point, but still you want to punch her a lot. So, yeah. I just loved it. It was amazing, and I can't even talk about it in a way that does it justice. But it was just great, and I'm actually surprised because I knew I would like it, but I did not go into it thinking that it would be a 5-star, but it totally is. So yeah, this is also a book that I could just not put down. You know, it was just after the first two parts that are kind of setting up the story, I was just hooked. I had to keep reading. So yeah, phenomenal. Loved it. And that's all I'm gonna say about that for now.
Hi, hello. It's been a while. It has been a year since I started this vlog. But I'm finally ready to read the last book for it. And I don't even remember what the two books were I read for this vlog before. I think it was Where the Crawdads Sing, which was a big disappointment, and which has a movie out now. Crazy. And I think I read... Oh, which one was it? Was it The Vanishing Half? I think it was The Vanishing Half, which I absolutely loved. And with this book, which was the original book that started this whole idea, I have very strong 5-star vibes. I have by now read the first book by this author and really enjoyed it. So I am very confident that this could be a 5-star book as well. So let's hope for the best. I will update you when I'm a little bit into it, and I hope that we can wrap this vlog up finally now. It's gonna be so weird because I just moved into a different apartment. My cat has died. I'm now finished with my PhD. A lot has happened since this vlog started. So it's weird. I'm sorry, but I hope you enjoy it.
So this is just a really tough read. I'm about 100 pages into it right now, not quite. And it is slow going, but I'm really enjoying it. And I'm just at a scene where one person basically tells these villagers that if they go to the capital, no one will care about them. And it's, I think, a very powerful speech because yeah, that's just how it is. And today I watched the John Oliver video about the carbon, what are they called? That I forgot the term. Whatever. Like if a company has a lot of carbon emissions, they can tell you they plant trees and make up for it basically, and how some of these projects actually make things even worse, and how some of these trees are planted in places where these kind of villages existed and the people are just evicted and told to go away, and then they plant some trees there. So it's just so messed up. Like reading this, our world is so messed up.
So I'm halfway through this book. I just finished Sahel's chapter, and this book is killing me, like for real. It's really putting you through a lot. I still think that Mbue is a masterful writer, but it's so sad. It's so heartbreaking, and the most heartbreaking thing about this book is that you know that this is absolutely how it would happen, and yeah, it probably has happened in some way or another, and yeah, it's just hard to believe that this is the world we live in. This is it. So I'm actually going into the office today, so I actually made some effort. And I thought I used that to quickly talk about this book, because I don't think I gave you a good synopsis of what this is about. So basically, in this book, we are following an imaginary village called Kosawa, and this village is somewhere in Africa. And we know that for many years now there has been an oil company working right next to that village on land that belonged to the village, but then the government decided no, it's their land and they're free to give it up. And so this village has been suffering for quite a while. At first, they didn't really feel the consequences, but by now it's so bad, the environmental hazards are so bad that children start dying. And we follow this village from two kind of perspectives. So the first perspective is a group of children, and we basically follow that we perspective, and I think that's so interesting to kind of follow that whole, like, not generation, but like this whole, they call each other age mates, so they're all of the same age basically. And I think that's so interesting. And the other perspective is the people in one particular family. So we follow the uncle, the mother, the daughter, and now the grandmother, I think. And that's also very interesting because this family has a lot of impact in what's going on. And then we have this kind of David versus Goliath thing going on, where this small town is trying to start to fight this oil company. And this has some Asterix and Obelix vibes, just not funny. It's not funny at all. It's a very, very sad book, very realistic portrayal of that fight. So yeah, I wanted to clear that up a little bit because, as I said, I don't think I've ever talked about what this is actually about. But yeah, very interesting way of telling the story and a very realistic view. And it's heartbreaking. So I will probably finish this book tonight. I have less than 50 pages left. But last night, this really had to ruin everything because... this is not a spoiler, but there's basically a rape in here,
and it's a kind of spiritual rape. We have that one character who really doesn't want children, and she kind of becomes this like leading figure of a revolution. And so there is these small kids who are twins, and because of that they can kind of communicate with the spirit, and so they say they have to do this ritual to her, so that the revolution can actually succeed. And this ritual contains putting sperm from a random person into her. And there's 5 grown-ass men who say that's okay. And I just can't. I just can't. I really hope that this is somehow brought up in the rest of this book. I think that the whole talk about how a woman who isn't married and doesn't have children doesn't have any standing in these societies is like very important, and I don't think that it is an inaccurate portrayal. I actually believe that motherhood is still a very valued thing in Africa, but or in a lot of African communities. But just the way that this is portrayed in a positive light so far is just really bugging me, and the way that it is described that after this rape that the woman actually, she doesn't know because she wasn't conscious, and after that she's described as being so glowing, and now everyone can see that she is a changed woman now and that they can take her seriously, and it's just described in such a positive light, like something actually happened to her, but it was a rape, guys. So yeah, I really hope that this is brought up in the last 50 pages, because I'm just not comfortable with that direction. So I did finish the book yesterday. Unfortunately, I decided to give it only 4 stars. I think that similar to Behold the Dreamers, the ending just didn't really work for me that well. We just follow in a similar vein as I had said in my last clip. I was hoping that this would be like challenged at least, but it wasn't. Right at the end there was actually another little part about the whole rape thing, where it again was portrayed in a like good way. And yeah, I just really didn't enjoy that. And also at the end, this might be a spoiler, so you want to skip ahead to the outro if you don't want to hear it. But in the end, basically, these 5 men who already had decided that it was okay to rape that woman, they actually get her killed. Yeah, not so great. So yeah, unfortunately, the beginning was great. I think up until the chapter of Yaya, I was absolutely in love, but then it fell apart a little bit. But I still think it is worth a read. I am considering whether I will pick up the next book Mbue puts out, because I love her writing, but just it seems like her values and mine just don't align. So yeah, we'll see about that. But for now, 4 stars. I did enjoy the majority of this, but the ending just didn't work for me. So with that, we've come to the end of this vlog, which has been a year in the making. We have read a big disappointment, a small disappointment, and a big surprise. So from the ranking of the books, I would definitely say Where the Crawdads Sing was the worst one. Then we have How Beautiful We Were on the 2nd spot, and definitely my favorite was The Vanishing Half, which was one of my favorite books of last year. So yeah. This was a fun vlog. I think having books with like very similar covers but very different themes and very different storylines was interesting to see. All of these, I would say, go into the like literary fiction realm, so they're not that different, but still content-wise they were very different. And I would recommend How Beautiful We Were and The Vanishing Half if you want to check them out. There's also the movie for Where the Crawdads Sing, but since I liked the story the least of the book, I don't want to watch that movie. So if you've seen it, let me know what you thought. And yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!